Hello everyone. So this is about psychotherapies of submission and engagement, and they're linked to psychedelics. But that's not really true. What it's actually about is to get you guys to go here. This is kind of the punchline. Shameless plug all the time. There's a research project, we're writing a book, experiences of trips, how it was for you, how it's affected you, etc. Go to this place, read it, and and fill it in, write about it, tell other people to do it. There's a little thing in your pack as well that talks about this. Anyway, what I'm going to try to sketch for you now is, I'm going to start with Nietzsche. I'm going to start with a concept that he has and kind of my interpretation of it. That's going to be the philosophy bit. Then I'm going to add how you can view psychotherapy from that kind of structure. And then I'm going to add how you can view psychedelics and other drugs through that lens. So this is just a picture. It really works for me. Don't see it as the truth. It's very similar to my previous speaker. It is, life is messy, so are these things. But this works for me. In Genealogy of Morality, Nietzsche talks about master, slave, and priest. He talks about this in a way that people have done this. Certain peoples are full of masters. Certain individuals are masters. I think we can take a more psychological view on this. So if we talk about ourselves, about mastery, about when you, at times, today, yesterday, have chosen life, have chosen what you do, chosen the situation. Yeah, it doesn't have to be some Aryan bully going forth in some masterly way. It could also be totally inhabiting reality. That is mastery. That is complex. It's fine. That is complex, and that's owned. Okay? At times, today, right now even, we are slavish. I am slavish. I'm brave enough to stand in front of you, kind of in a masterly way, and own the situation. I'm also using this on a bloody Microsoft Word PC, which is not very, I don't like it, I like Linux. I accept it, say, fuck it. It's there. So there's a part of us that gives up. And that's fine. It'd be really stressful to be masterly all the time. The problem is the third one. Priestliness. This is a crucial thing that I wish for you to get. This is when I give up, but I'm kind of pissed off about it. I'm resentful about it. And it's usually through some story that I become resentful against it. Yeah? The rich will never get to heaven because they're all bad. Yeah? It wasn't my fault, it's the system. Yeah? This is what Nietzsche talks about, when priests, they take the pain, the natural pain of life, and they weaponize it into resentment, into feelings, into us feeling sorry for ourselves. And it doesn't work very well. It actually causes a lot of suffering. Most importantly, it is not owned. It is not you doing it. There's suffering, and it's someone else's fault, and you can't really do anything about it. Okay? So far, Nietzsche. He used this, he looked at religion. And priests creating religion in order to fuel resentment. But I want you to look at this from your own perspective as you're sitting here through your day today, when you have been a bit bitter and disowned the situation, as opposed to the masterly way when you try to love your fate, amor fati. Okay? So far, Nietzsche. These guys use power. These guys give up power. These guys have kind of given up power and they're not too happy about it. There's a bitterness to it. Now, on to therapy. I'm going to start with with the priestliness, this side over here. I'm a shrink, which means that I've spent years in therapy, probably about 27 years in therapy. And throughout that time, I've been many times kind of hanging on to the psychotherapist story. I'm going like, can you help me? This is my pain. And the psychotherapist often looks back at me with a blank face. I give all the power to the psychotherapist, and I'm hoping for his or her wisdom. Please give it to me. Yeah? So, I would argue that kind of psychotherapy is a very priestly psychotherapy. I have given my power over to the psychotherapist. Usually, if you look at the systems of psychotherapy, and including existential psychotherapy, my baby, were just as bad as the psychodynamic and the CBT, and there are millions of them. The idea that the psychotherapist holds the truth and that the client is begging for it and is hoping that they will get this truth is a very priestly one. It also disowns my experience, my sadness, my fury over this system, this world, with all its inequalities and troubles, etc., that I am rightfully furious about. The therapist goes, "Oh, you must really miss your mother. Mother's breast." That kind of bullshit. Yeah? This oppression is made complete by psychiatry. Then it's not only my mother's breast, but actually I've got ADHD. Yeah? There's an invented psychiatric illness, which is then totally outside of me. My BPD made me do it. Yeah? So every new year we have new diseases that are invented. Sometimes they're taken away. We recently cured all the Aspies of the world, all the Asperger's autistic people, because it just took it away, which is fantastic. So looking at this, we then move on. So we have, a lot of psychotherapy, most of psychiatry moves in a priestly way. Now, what kind of drugs would fit this? What kind of drugs stop me from owning my reality, stop me from stepping up, doing something interesting? Well, it'll be a dulling drug. It'll be a dry martini. It will be so-called antipsychotics or so-called SSRIs, Prozac, as in, basically, they're not antipsychotic and antidepressant, they're basically dulling. They dull you. And that would be the perfect drug. These are the sedatives, the opiates of the mind. Marx talked about religion being the opium of the people. He was very clear that something good about it. It does relieve the pain. It does. But it also stops the revolution. So this kind of opium of the people in today's society with antipsychotics and SSRIs has actually, the story has become reality. This is a singular truth. This is one story. Let's move over to another story, a better story, a story of complexity. Oh, here. Psychotherapy of engagement. The psychotherapy that I argue is the only thing we should do. This is hard work. It is. Every time I sit down with a client, I have to create a whole new textbook. Because the way that you work and the way that you work is radically different. The way you relate to your mom, the way you relate to your mom is radically different. Why you're sad, radically different. How do you work? So I have with my 20 clients, I have 20 different psychotherapeutic systems. It's also quite exciting. The research into the actual efficiency of psychotherapy shows that, well, there's lots of research into CBT, of course, and it's very flawed. But if you take if you create a research structure that only allows one kind of answer, you can get good results for CBT. The psychotherapy of engagement, what we psychotherapists call the dodo bird effect. It's kind of a classic thing where we find that everything works, but there is a difference. We do know that the relationship works, how we engage with each other, and we do know that client factors work. The way that I empower you to empower yourself, that seems to work, and that is the psychotherapy of engagement. So it actually has research base. This is trying to promote masterliness. It's a new word, like, there you go. So it's trying to promote masterliness. It's trying to elicit you owning your shit, owning the situation, accepting that maybe you can't do anything about it, but it is there. So if we looked over here at psychiatry being kind of a straw man bad guy. Not all psychiatrists are bad. I've got many friends who are psychiatrists. We argue a lot, and I've won like twice. These are the psychiatrists over here. Over there, we have the shamans. Or shaman, I don't know what's the politically correct way of saying it. I'll go shaman. These are the shamans. Now, I'm sure that there are priestly shamans. I'm sure there are shamans that run around and promote there's one truth only. But this is my kind of shaman. This is trying to engage with multiplicity. This is trying to create complexity. This is trying to understand how each and every person works. In a follow-up to that, the drugs. I was going to ask you which drugs is that, but I'm kind of giving it away. What kind of drugs would be useful to increase complexity, to own your shit? Psychedelics, the classic LSD, ayahuasca, whatever. These drugs resonate with the therapy of engagement. The idea, so this is just how it could be, how they resonate with each other, but of course, the idea of actually using actively psychedelics in psychotherapy. The only thing I've done so far, because I'm legal, hello camera, is to then only talk post facto about the trip and trying to understand it. But there is, as I'm sure many of you are quite aware, increasing amounts of research that show the usefulness of actively using psychedelics during psychotherapy to have that mix together, to open stuff up. That's a transformative and healing way of psychotherapy. And that's perhaps why shamans have done it for millennia. So, I'm asking you to imagine two settings, yeah? In one setting, we have the client into their second year of psychotherapy, looking at the po-faced psychotherapist, telling their story. In another one, you have something that is more, perhaps unboundaried, perhaps a community setting, perhaps maybe it's an ayahuasca circle. And maybe some people are having a negative experience there, and the shaman or the psychotherapist, whatever we call it, some kind of archetypal psychonaut, is there to support it. Okay, so this is negative for you. Tell me about that negativity. How can we work with that? Not necessarily pathologize it. I would argue that I think we've suffered priestliness for too long. Psychotherapy is a very young science, maybe 200 years of psychology. A lot of it, almost all of it, is priestly. It's about finding the one truth and putting it on top of people. I think we need to stop doing that. It has no research base. I think the research base is in psychotherapy of engagement. And I do think that the amount of sedatives we give out and the rubbish efficiency of that compared to what psychedelics could be is shocking. And then, most important, Revelation stopped long, yeah? Everyone. Revelations.blog. I think I do have some time for questions, yes? Yes.
Sure.
Yeah? Yeah?
Although, I suppose the way that we've gone now, we may as well run through with Andy and then we can have questions at the end.
Brilliant. Okay. So hold your questions, a multitude of questions. Thank you very much.